Welcome back to the Prepared School Psych Podcast. We're continuing our conversation today with Dr. Amy Merenda. If you missed part one, it's the episode right before this one. If you didn't get a chance to listen to that one, you may want to press pause and give that one a listen. For those who have already experienced part one, let us go ahead and pick up where we left off. Enjoy.
We've already talked a little bit about scheduling and being really intentional with the times that you are available. I love the fact that you have a desktop.
Kind of old fashioned. I'm over here and like, I'm on my desktop.
So, what does a typical day or week look like for you now as an LEP compared to when your main role was a school psychologist?
That's a great question, too. So, just very generally, I typically work one weekend day a week because that's when a lot of people are available. So, a lot of students, if they don't want to miss school or they have more flexibility to get to me. So, I typically work one weekend day and for whatever it's worth, again, I'm not saying this is the perfect plan, but for me, this is how it has gone. The days that I am working, I fill them up. Like, I do not have free moments, really. I mean, I have breaks in between things, but like 10 minutes, right? Just to like go to the bathroom or eat a snack or something. And really, part of that again is because of the place that I'm at in my life too. Now have an almost 2-year old. And so I'm getting childcare and figuring that all out too. So I want to make the most of the time that I am in my office and somebody else is with my own child. So I have one day a weekend that I do that. And then I typically am working 2 days a week in my office or out at a school site observing, whatever it could be. And in terms of what happens in those days, it really does vary. Sometimes I'm out at school sites, like I mentioned, I'm observing kids, or sometimes I do some contract work with a district right now. And so I might be out there supporting or doing assessment. I only do assessment. So I will go assess and then come back to my office, which at the beginning felt so strange because we're used to like our school site is our home base. Like you get there before school, you leave when it's over. Like leaving for lunch, I was like, oh, I hope no one's watching me leave for lunch. Like you have all these like embedded thoughts. And now I'm like going in, testing, leaving, but I had to shake the like training that we do to ourselves. But anyway, sometimes I'll be Zooming with parents, Zooming with teachers. I really tried to lean into Zoom a lot. And also, I like to record a lot of my interviews now. I know in the school setting, we call them on the phone, fill out a form. But in private practice, one thing I've done is I've scheduled like a parent interview and then I'll record my Zoom with them if they're comfortable with that. And that way I can go back and I can take notes from that and I can look at the transcript and so I'm really having a discussion with them instead of furiously writing stuff down on the phone. Or again, it's all about really building a connection and connecting with them. So I might be doing that. I might be seeing a kid for testing. It really depends. I also am having the opportunity this spring. I've done some trainings at our local high schools. So I've gone into there. Every day is different. And I know that's tends to be how it is for a school psychologist too. No one goes in thinking, well, I think we go in thinking we know what's going to happen that day. And then that doesn't happen. So I
Right.
think we're all used to that of like, oh, every day can be different and we can reschedule things and move stuff around. Same out here. It's just a matter of where am I and how am I using that time?
Well, I know you still have some connection to schools. Like you mentioned, you are contracting with a couple of schools, but in general, how are you making sure that you're staying up to date with research, development, new laws? How are you making sure? Because I think a lot of us get that from our school
Yeah.
psychology job like meetings. And now that it's you by yourself, what are those ways that you're making sure that you are always keeping up to date?
I have a couple of go-to resources. I am a member of a couple of different affiliates. I know that you have been interviewing our affiliate leaders in California. I'm a member of multiple affiliates because then I get invited to their trainings and I try to go to those. And in fact, I just went to one yesterday and it was amazing through Santa Clara. So that was awesome. Shout out Santa Clara. And I never did that before, right? When I was in my district, because like you're mentioning, I got all of my information from my district. So now I'm learning from different areas of the state, which is pretty neat. And I do have to shout out the Prepared School Psychologist, Jenny, because I get a lot of information from the Prepared School Psych. I know you have your legal takeaways and things that we hear about, and that stuff has always mattered to me, but it matters a little bit more now because, again, I don't have the same access to my school district. I'm also a member of our California Association. I think that's a great place to get information. We get updates via email. There's opportunities to learn from others there. I am not a member of NASP, the National Association of School Psychs. I haven't been in a long time, but I have to be honest with you. I have been thinking about it for weeks. Like, I think I need to rejoin because of this exact question, having access. And it might not even be like, I don't need to go to the NASP convention or do all this stuff, but just to know that I have a place I can look stuff up. I can read the communique. I can, or, whatever this information's coming to us. I think that matters. So, but my biggest one is the first one is being a member of multiple affiliates, going to their training, learn. Many trainings now are virtual just because that's the way that things have gone. And that works great for me because I can be a member of affiliates that I don't necessarily live by. So that's been phenomenal. And I know our affiliates are always trying to get really up to date, great speakers to give the latest information. So those are kind of my go-tos.
Well, I know one of your passions is definitely the neurodiversity affirming practices. So, how do you get to tie that into your role as an LEP now?
This is my favorite part, I have to be honest, because I feel like in the school setting, like I mentioned, our primary question is, are you eligible for special education? And naturally, that's very deficit focused. Like, do you have enough needs, enough holes, enough weaknesses to fit this? Can I say that you're in? And that's to no fault of any school psychologist. That is how it is created. That's the question we're answering. So in private practice, I have had so many chances to change that narrative and to add things into my report that I don't have to worry. Like, we know that in the school district, we are trained by our attorneys, by our groups, what wording needs to be in there and all that. And that is very valuable and important. Please still listen to those people. In this different setting, when I'm looking at something really different, the question is naturally different too. My district's attorney is not going to be reviewing my private practice report that I'm giving to this client, right? That's, or likely not. I hope not. Now that I've said this, I'm like, please, now that it's out there, somebody just, but the intention is different. The report is intended for something totally unique. So because of that, I can add things into my report. I can focus on strengths. I add in strengths sections of my report at the end of every section. I write letters to the student. I really hone in my whole recommendation section. I drive the recommendations by identifying this was the area of need that I saw, and this is a thing that they do really well. So let's use the strength to offset the weakness. I can really tailor these things to truly be neurodiversity affirming. Whereas in the school setting, we do have some restrictions. There are districts that are cautious about how they write recommendations, as we mentioned earlier, or we know we have to follow a certain format for our reports. And again, there's validity and reasons for that. But out here, it's different. And so I've really worked to incorporate those pieces. And I now see my reports as a souvenir that the child can read when they are old enough to read it, or when they're in a place that they want to see. What did that person say about me when I was 8? And I want to see it. And when I want to picture that moment and I want them to feel good, I want them to feel like I saw them, like I acknowledged them, like I empowered them, not like I just said, yes, they meet eligibility. Boom. Again, different purpose. That's not a diss on those reports. We have to do that in the school setting, but there's just a different chance out here. And so that's kind of how I've really tied it all together.
Well, and taking that a step further beyond the individual student, thinking about the book that you mentioned at the
Yeah.
beginning, what advice would you give to those working in the schools on how to create those more inclusive and supportive classroom environments for all of the students that we work with?
Really, two things come to mind. And one is to be creative. I think that we have limitations, and I am aware of that in the school. Like, I was just there, right? I know what it's like when you say something in a meeting and then your phone rings and it's your program specialist and you're like, oops, maybe I shouldn't have said what I said to that family. I thought I was saying something super supportive and then, oh, we can't do that or whatever it could be. I know that dance. I've danced that dance. So I understand there's limitations, but that doesn't mean we can't be creative and we can't do what we can to work within those barriers, within those parameters to really understand a child. It's not hard to tie in little things, even like, if you're having a challenging moment with a student and maybe you have a lot of behavior concerns, but you know one thing about them and you know that they love the color blue. They love to go fishing. I'm thinking about a particular kid that I know. And that's all you know. That's all you know. Otherwise, it's hard. You're frustrated. You're tired. It, put a picture of somebody fishing in their folder in your room. I mean, it's little things that you can do. Be as creative as you can. The other one, I would say, my other kind of piece of feedback is not to get trapped in the role of, well, I don't want to upset people. And I'm saying that as somebody who doesn't want to upset people. So please know that. But I'm picturing like, we all know in special education that there are some general education teachers, some administrators, some colleagues that are going to go with any idea we say. And they're going to say, yes, that's awesome. I love that. I'm going to try that. And then there are some that look at you and they say, no, I'm not doing that. That takes too much time. I've never done it like that. Whatever, insert phrase here that you've heard a million times. It can be hard to go up against that side of things. Don't be afraid to go up against that side of things with kindness, with respect, with collaboration. I think that's what's going to get you farther is to say, can I talk to you about why that's my idea? Can I just let you know like where this is coming from? Like, I don't intend to add more to your plate. Like, I'm just trying to think about this kid and having heartfelt discussions, not being afraid to walk into that. But again, you're not there to argue. You're not there to fight. You're there as a team member, a collaborator with parameters. So be as creative and collaborative as you can within that setting. There are times it's not going to work. I'm also not naive to that. Like, I know there are certain situations where we just can't make something happen. And that's all right too. But be transparent and honest about that as well. So I think it's all about that collaboration with parents, with other staff. If we can do those things, we might not fix every problem, but I think we can avoid a lot of issues.
I love those. I love those ideas.
Hello, school psychologist. I have some exciting news for you that you won't want to miss. The Prepared School Site community has extended our free trial to a full 4 weeks, giving you plenty of time to explore all the resources, select mini courses, and professional development tools that we offer. That's right, 4 weeks to explore mini courses on FBAs and preschool assessment with CEU opportunities, plus full access to video and downloadable resources on assessment, behavior, counseling, report writing, and eligibility, and more. You will also get our new eligibility checklist and multiple ways to get your questions answered by me and my 4 content specialists. I know you're busy, and this extra time gives you the space to fully take in all of the valuable content we've created to support your growth and help with the challenges you face in your role. So, are you ready to see what's inside? Sign up for your 4 week free trial today at jennyponzurek.com/podcast and use podcast to take full advantage of these valuable resources. Can't wait to see you inside.
Well, I know, and you've talked about this a little bit already, that you've had the opportunities to also complete some independent educational evaluations in your role as an LEP.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of curious because many of us have been the school psychologist when we have
Yes.
an IEE evaluator come and share their information. What have you learned from now being in that role that you kind of wish you knew back when you were a school psychologist or the LEP part of you talking to the school psych part of you? How are you taking into consideration kind of this new perspective?
Oh, so much. So a couple of things, that really I think are important to share. And one is that I am nervous too. I am nervous going into that meeting to share my recommendation, just like you're nervous. So I want to say it's not about you, but in like a kind way, not like you don't matter. But the nervousness does not come from you, it comes from me. I'm also nervous. And so remembering that, it's not I'm going to say it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be a versus situation.
Mhm.
It should be an us to support a child situation. And I say it shouldn't be rather than it's not, because I think there are times when certain team members make it a versus situation. But if we, on as an independent evaluator, put extensive effort into being a true collaborator, I
Mhm.
think it is possible to, even when we give a different recommendation than what you gave, for it to be received with respect and collaboration, true collaboration. It's not about you and your report. It's about my moment and my time with this child. Think about, how sometimes when you're on the school side, I thought this a couple of times and I was like, this is taking so long for them to get this done, for them to get this independent evaluation done. This is going to be a different kid. And it is. Like, I want to say that. Like, a lot of times it is. I did an assessment for a child who was assessed in kindergarten. And by the time I was done, it was late first grade.
Wow.
I gave a different recommendation because you probably would have too if you tested him in late first grade, right? It's not about would I have done something different than you did way back then.
Mhm.
No, it's about what is the recommendation right now. And so there are factors that have nothing to do with the amazing work that you did. They're outside of that. It's time, it's growth or lack of, it's all these things, right? And I also want to say that many, many, many times, like I think I've done upwards of 20 IEs now, at least 18 or 19 of them, like I'm not exaggerating, have nothing to do with the quality of the psych report.
Mm,
They have everything to do with a broken relationship.
mm.
And so it could even be, oh, no, no, I agree with the psych's recommendation. Like I agree with that. And so then I'm over here like, so then why are we doing this? But it's because the trust with the overall school has been broken. And because you represent the school, they might agree with what you say, but they're going to feel better if somebody else says it too. Again, that has nothing to do with you. Most of the time, you did an incredible job. So
Mhm.
also remember that it's about the collaboration, it's about building that rapport, it's about the connection. Only once or twice has it really been because they didn't like the school psych report. And even then, when I went back and looked, it was a timing thing. It was, oh, this is kindergarten. There's only so much we can know and learn in kindergarten, right?
Right.
Versus now it's been 18 months and I see a different kid. So I think removing it from you as much as possible is going to make it successful. There have been a couple times where I've also like run into the school psych at the school and I've tried to, start off the bridge like, hi, this is who I am. And I saw in your report, like you did such a good job at this and this. Like, thank you for doing that. That goes a long way because if I ever see any of you, please know, like, it's not about you and it's also not about me. It's about answering a question and making sure we can work together to do that. So, easier said than done, I know, but I think it's something that we can all work on, especially those of us doing IEEs. What do we need to do? What does our tone need to be like? What does our communication need to be like when we're in those situations to kind of remove the stigma? Because it should not be as stressful as it is for the practitioners.
I love that. Well, we talked about IEEs. You've had the opportunity to support students in a variety of different ways. You've provided counseling, private assessments, you do executive functioning support sometimes, and all that extra free spare time of yours. What have you learned from engaging in these kinds of LEP specific projects and tasks?
I have learned a lot about what I like. I think in the school setting, we have a job to do, of course. So we don't necessarily get to say like, "Oh, I like that part more, so I'm going to do that more." And then like that I don't really like, so I'm not going to do that. Like we don't get to do that in the school setting, but we do in private practice. And so I've really gotten to learn about what I like. And when I went into this role, I thought, you know what I would love to do is I would love to like go in with parents and help them in IEP meetings. Like I wouldn't call myself an advocate, but more like a collaborator, like a consultant for that meeting. And I tried that and I didn't love it. Like I did fine in the moment, but looking back afterwards, I was like, oh, I did not love that. I don't want to like, no, thank you. So I didn't do more of that, right? You
Yeah.
do the things that make you feel good, that make you feel like you're helping people, but you get to do that now, right? You get to say, you know what? I don't really love counseling kids that have this sort of issue. Like struggle helping with that. So if that's the referral that you get, you don't have to take it. You could say, you know who does a much better job than me? This person. And, send them off to that person. And remembering that when you're doing that, because it's hard to say no out here, we want to make sure we can pay our bills next month and all of that too, because that's a different problem. But you want to make sure that you are feeling good about what you're doing because that's when it's really going to be effective for the child and the family too, is when you feel good. When there's that synchrony of me feeling good and you're feeling good. So we've got this, right? Like we can tackle this problem and do what you can to create those opportunities for yourself. I think I really was able to start to learn, and I'm sure it will continue to transform as I grow too. But start to learn what really I enjoyed and I liked.
I love that. I know a lot of times talking with people who are starting out in the LEP world, we do tend to say yes to a lot of different
Yes.
things because of the scarcity concern, but also we're unsure. We're not quite certain. And I think one of the pieces of feedback I've received from a lot of LEPs is, I tried that, but my gut was actually telling me like maybe to hesitate to do this, but we did it anyways. And then we reflect back and we're like, oh, I should listen to my gut next time.
Yep.
There are so many different paths that an LEP or whatever is the term that is used in your state that you get to do. And I think for a lot of people who are entering into that world, one of their main reasons is as a school psychologist, when we think about the NASP 10 domains, there's so many different ways that we can help support students. But like you were talking about, sometimes we are sitting in a school district and we're only doing like this one thing.
Yes.
And for a lot of us, we're like, but I got into this field to do these five other things, but you're not asking me to do those five other things. But
Mhm.
that's why I wanted to get into this because that's what lights me up. That's how I get to provide value in this
Yeah.
world and to these families. And so I think it's great to try out different things
Mhm.
and then to really reflect back and go, let's cross that one out. Well, that was not a good fit for
I'm
me.
taking that off my website. Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. Just kidding. I don't do that anymore. But to know people that you can refer
Yes. Oh, yes.
them to. Absolutely. And I've even done that with evaluation requests where people have asked me and, we maybe have done a discovery call and I'm like, I don't think I'm a right fit for this family.
Mhm.
It's hard to say no when there are bills piling up and different things like that. But there are certain things that I don't think it's the right fit for me, but I have a list of people that I really strongly recommend, whether that's
Yes.
executive functioning counseling, whether it's private evaluation in an area that I just don't feel as comfortable with. Every once in a while, I'll get a request for like a 4-year-old and they're concerned about autism. That's not my area. That's not my
Yeah.
area of expertise. Come back
Yeah.
when you're concerned about dyslexia. Let's
Yeah.
talk. Absolutely. Well, as we all know, this podcast is called the Prepared School Psych. So when you think of that term, what do you do to help yourself feel more prepared in your role as an LEP?
I feel like this should be an easy question, Jenny, but it's totally not an easy question. The first thing that comes to mind, though, is I try to do what I can to feel rested and ready in my own mind. And, that could look like different things for different people, but you always start off, I know your podcast about talking about TV shows and books and ways to like rejuvenate ourselves. And I love that question because, yes, it's fun and funny, but it's also really important. And
Yes.
I think in this role, especially this role, but also as a school psychologist, also as an educator, also as somebody that provides support for other families and kids, making sure that you are doing what you can for you is going to make you the most prepared. You're never going to have all the answers. You're never going to read enough articles or have enough books sitting on your shelf to read. Like, there's just always more to learn. But when you're going to be the most ready to tackle anything is when you feel rested and rejuvenated. And I say that as, like I mentioned, the parent of an almost 2-year-old. So, like, what is rested and rejuvenated? But honestly, like yesterday, my husband came home and I was like, I'm going to go on a walk by myself. I'm not even bringing the dog. I'm not even bringing anybody. I'm going all alone. And that was the best, right? Like, just doing what we can within our role to take care of our own brains, because people need our brains. That's why we're here. That's why we have these jobs. And so what does your brain need? And it might need that box of Budget Crunch, because I did that the other day too, and that was great. Or it might need a walk outside, or it might need to go out to dinner with your friend, or, whatever. Do what you can to take care of your brain, because that's what people want.
I love that. Well, Amy, thank you again for sharing about all of your experience and sharing your insights on that transition from school psychologist to licensed educational psychologist. It is so valuable to hear about the new opportunities and responsibilities that come with this role. So thank you so much for once again being on the podcast.
I loved it. It's always a great time.
Well, for those of you considering a similar career path or wanting to expand your practice, I hope you feel more prepared after today's conversation. Thank you to everyone for listening to the Prepared School Psych podcast. If you haven't yet, make sure to follow so that you don't miss future episodes. Until next time, everyone, have a great day.
That concludes another episode of the Prepared School Psych podcast. And I hope today's discussion equipped you not just with knowledge, but also the confidence to take action. Remember, every conversation we have and every resource we share builds a bridge towards a more inclusive and empowering learning landscape for our students. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe to the podcast for more insightful conversations and resources to support your journey. Share this podcast with colleagues. We would love it if you would also rate and review the podcast. Thank you for tuning in. Just a reminder, everyone, the information and advice provided in this podcast are for guidance purposes only, and all listeners are required to follow both federal and state law and their own school district guidelines and policies. Thank you.